7 running back rankings. We had him for week 6. Pretty good, pretty dialed in. Take a look at Christian McCaffrey. Now, he only had about 50 rushing yards in week 6. Who cares? He still brings in 6 receptions. He's still getting 7, 8, 9, 10 targets per game, even more in some of his games, right? So CMC is still going to be my number 1 S-tier running back. Now, for week 7, keep in mind we have 2 teams on bye week. The Bills. So James Cook, unfortunately, will not be in your lineup. Now, these rankings are not only week 7 specific, but they also factor in rest of season rankings as well. We'll talk about each of these players one by one. Now, we also have the Ravens on bye week. So James Cook, you can see we have him quite high as RB4. And Derrick Henry, we'll talk about his ranking as we go. Jonathan Taylor, once again, impresses. Let's go take a look at flockfantasy.com. You can check this out for free tool. Go check out the website. Jonathan Taylor, 24-point day again. He has over 100 rushing yards. He brings in a rushing touchdown once again. He's a bit more involved in the receiving game, averaging 4 targets per game. So there's some PPR floor upside as well. Jonathan Taylor remains as my RB2. Heading into a big matchup versus the Los Angeles Chargers, where they're going to have to throw their best players at them. Bijan Robinson and the Falcons. I haven't seen Monday Night Football yet. Haven't seen Sunday Night Football yet either while I'm making this video. But Bijan Robinson remains a high option in my rankings. The reason being here, there's one thing that concerns me. First off, let's get it clear. Bijan is one of the most effective running backs in the league, especially with his dual threat nature. However, if we take a look at the usage, there's a pest on the loose. It's Tyler Algier. 73% snap rate in week 4. Monitor the snap rate coming in on. They were on bye. No, they weren't. All right, that was previous. Monitor the snap rate in week 6 versus the Bills, because I'm curious to see, does Algier keep vulturing red zone touches? Does Algier keep vulturing a lot of his usage? If that happens, you know, we might have to bump him down to A tier, but he's been so effective that it hasn't really mattered. James Cook is on bye, but I don't see his rank changing much. Jahmyr Gibbs, haven't seen him yet, but I don't see his rank changing too much outside of an injury. And Achane might be able to leapfrog these guys. Achane's usage has been explosive. Now, this Dolphins offense is a sinking ship. However, Achane, 16, 26, 16, 16, 16, 31. His floor has been 16 points. His ceiling's been 30 plus points. His receiving usage has been there. His rushing effectiveness has been there. He's looked good. Tough matchup versus the Cleveland Browns. Tough matchup indeed. I think Cleveland, they're favored to win that game by 2.5 points. So I'm going to leave him where he is. But keep in mind, I'm thinking I might bump Achane up ahead of Gibbs or Cook, depending on the matchup. Javonte Williams has his worst day yet. I think he had 30 rushing yards, but he had 5 catches for only 5 receiving yards. So it was a bad game. Didn't bring in a touchdown either. I'm still going to leave him here. You know, I was aggressively ranking him coming into a solid matchup versus Carolina. Didn't do anything, but now the Dallas Cowboys have a divisional matchup in Jerry's Row versus the Commanders in week 7. I'm leaving Javonte right where he is. Psych, I'm putting Josh Jacobs back up ahead of him. Why? Josh Jacobs has 2 rushing touchdowns, almost 100 rushing yards, but I don't care about that. What I care about is the 5 receptions for 60 receiving yards he had in week number 6 against the Bengals. Josh Jacobs, his schedule keeps getting better and better. Packers, taking a look at their schedule here and what Josh Jacobs just accomplished, I think Josh Jacobs is a must. You know, I told you to buy him low while you could before the bye week. And during the bye week, they take on Arizona. They take on the Steelers, the Panthers, the Giants. He's got a pretty good schedule coming up here. So I like Josh Jacobs a lot. Saquon Barkley, I was fading, and it turns out I was right. Another bad matchup. He's still in A tier. And Genty, I'm also going to leave where he was. Quinshon Judkins, I think, is fairly ranked down. You can make an argument to bump him down behind Kyren Williams. And that's where I want to go matchup by matchup. So if we take a look at Kyren Williams, what Kyren Williams has been doing, let's go ahead and filter this by running back. That'll make things a lot easier here for us. Where's Mr. Kyren Williams? Kyren Williams has had a couple good games strung together. 19, 10, 31, and 17 to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in a big matchup. Now, if Puka Nacua is out, you can fathom that either maybe Kyren gets more dump-offs, sure, maybe, or the Rams aren't going to have as much opportunities in the red zone. So it's kind of a two-sided thing. Judkins had his worst game of the year, stuffed, only 3 yards per carry against the Steelers' tough defense. Versus Miami, I think there's going to be some running room. So I think Quinshon Judkins probably drops about 15 points. I think Williams has a bit of a higher ceiling this week, so I'm going Kyren over him. Derrick Henry is on bye week, so we'll just leave him where he is. Cam Scatterbo should be up here in B tier, man. Like he's getting all the usage, and he just had 3 touchdowns. In fact, I'd rather have Scatterbo this week than Genty. So I'm going to leave Scatabo up here. Actually, he's going to jump all the way up to 8th here, which is a bit ridiculous. Rashad White down here in C tier. These are the guys where you're starting most of these guys. There's an argument Rashad White could be up here in B tier, but I like Rashad White. Sean Tucker actually vultured a touchdown, but we'll leave him where he is. Breece Hall and the Jets, you're never going to know whether or not you should start these guys. The Jets are favored in their Week 7 matchup, believe it or not. I'm going to leave Breece Hall where he is. Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell had 6 targets. He had more receiving work than Warren. Kenneth Gainwell was also involved in the ground. Caleb Warren also had 6 rush attempts. So Warren might have been getting phased back in, coming back off the injury. A bit concerned about the long-term outlook here for Warren. Do we see him start to lose some of his work? Alvin Kamara, again, he had 10 rushes to Kendre Miller's 8 rushes, but he still had the receiving usage. So he's kind of like RB3, maybe RB2, depending on the format. Chase Brown had a 2-point conversion, but again, wasn't super exciting. What is exciting is that Joe Flacco kind of had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins have decent days. Chase had a really good day, so maybe Chase Brown can, get more opportunities in the red zone than he would have with Jake Browning. So his rest of the season now looks all right. ETN, I think, deserves to be probably ahead of Alvin Kamara moving forward. But taking a look at what ETN did, not a great game, especially on the ground. I think he had 12 carries for 27 yards, inefficient. Chuba Hubbard has to fall. Now, we don't have a Rico Dowdle graphic, but if I had a Rico Dowdle graphic, if Rico Dowdle is in and Chuba's out, Rico Dowdle is an A-tier guy. This guy's Dowdle has been insane. Now, if they're both in, which is probably what I predict happening here soon, I would put Chuba Hubbard probably somewhere down here in D tier. I'll figure that out in a second, and I'd probably put Dowdle, maybe ahead of Chuba Hubbard, especially for the first week he's back from injury. Now, take a look at Kenneth Walker. Him and Charbonnet, they deserve to fall in these rankings, man. Walker is more efficient, but Charbonnet out-carries him. The receiving usage is split. The red zone role seems like Charbonnet gets a lot of those carries. So you can't rely on Kenneth Walker, not nearly as much as some of these other guys. Like DeAndre Swift, I'd rather have Montgomery and Swift, guys that are going to have at least decent floors, whereas Walker's like Montgomery, but in a worse offense. So I'd rather have Montgomery over Walker. I'd rather have Swift just because Swift is getting the bulk of the carries, although Monaghan is kind of putting his resume out there. What did Tony Pollard do? The Titans' offense did not look good. Tony Pollard, we were fading him coming into the week. Woody Marks was on bye week, guys, as well. So we'll talk about Woody Marks here as we go in the video. We'll also talk about some of these other guys. Where's Tony Pollard? Is he even on this list? We're going to have to type him in. I can't even find this guy. My eyes are like bad after watching football all day. Tony Pollard. Take a look at what he did in week 6. Nothing. 6 points, and it's because he's touchdown dependent. Tyjae Spears also into that work. He only had 2 targets. You can't have Pollard highly ranked. Amari Hampton is out for the foreseeable future. Don't even rank him. We're going to put Dobbins up here because Dobbins has been getting a lot of volume. I'd rather have Dobbins over these guys ahead of him. I might even rather have Dobbins than ETN, to be honest. That's kind of a toss-up. So I think we're going to bump Dobbins all the way up to here. I think it's a fair rank. Now, continuing down the tiers, we have D tier of Trey Benson. Now, we said that Trey Benson, his face was symbolizing Michael Carter. Then you wake up on Sunday morning to the news that Bam Knight is the starter. Bam Knight and Michael Carter both had mid-games. Bam Knight had a 1-yard rushing touchdown, so he had like 12 fantasy points. So whoever the Cardinals starting running back is, I'm just going to throw here in E tier because it seems like they're splitting work, and now that Bam Knight's involved, neither of these guys are going to be super exciting. So Trey Benson's face, it represents whoever the starter is going to be. TreVeyon Henderson continues to disappoint. We're going to have to drop him in these rankings, man. Honestly, I think Walker is in a tier of his own. And I would put Chuba and Dowdle just down here in the bottom of D tier. But again, it depends if they're both healthy or not. TreVeyon's not been getting involved at all. Only 9 carries to Ramondre's 12. Ramondre looked bad. TreVeyon also didn't look great. Only 3 yards per carry. Haven't seen Pacheco yet. Mixon represents Woody Marks. I think that's a fair rank for Woody. I think it's a fair rank for Ramondre. Now, on a week-to-week basis, I'd rather have Ramondre than TreVeyon. So Ramondre, for the weekly ranking, should probably be up here ahead of TreVeyon. But rest of season factoring in, got to bump him down. Charbonnet, Algier Harvey, premium handcuff type backs. Haven't seen JCM's role yet. JCM's coming off of a big game. We're going to leave him down here in D tier for now. He's getting more usage than TreVeyon, so he's got to be a bit higher. Nick Chubb, you could put him somewhere on this list, but really, Nick Chubb's probably just somewhere down this range of Woody Marks, where you'd rather have Woody Marks. Honestly, you got to put Ramondre ahead of him, but I think it's a fair rank for him. Tyrone Tracy, worth ranking. It's sad. It's sad with him. Corum is injured. Aaron Jones is injured. When is Aaron Jones going to be back? Who knows? Tyjae Spears isn't even worth ranking either. And RJ Harvey continues to not get much of the usage. Now, let me check. Is there any running backs that we are missing from here that we need to talk about? Jordan Mason. Where is Jordan Mason? Do we have him fairly ranked? The answer to that is no. I don't even see him on this list. So Jordan Mason, matchup versus the Philadelphia Eagles. We don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be. Is it going to be McCarthy coming off the Vikings bye week? Is it going to be Wentz? But Jordan Mason should be a running back that is in your starting lineup. I think that's a fair ranking right there, especially without any Aaron Jones. I think those are all the running backs that we should talk about. Now, there are a couple guys. There's one guy missing. One person that I believe should be ranked here, maybe two, that is not ranked. The first one is Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, he's down here in E tier. I'm not starting him. I'm just not. The other one is going to be the Chargers starting running back. Now, not Hampton because he's hurt. We're going to have Hampton represent Kamani Vidal, who had a good game, 100-plus rushing yards. I mean, I'd rather have Kamani Vidal in my lineup than probably all of these players right here. Probably even more on a week-to-week basis than Travion. So weekly ranking ahead of him in E tier. Rest of season, down here. So those are the Week 7 running back rankings. Let me know what you think. Signing off. See you boys in the next set of rankings.